Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video here on the channel, and in today's video it's another one of the episodes of Most Haunted Buildings. In today's episode we're flying all the way to America and we're looking into the Amityville horror house case. This house is very juicy. It's got some arguments to say that it's fake. It's got a backstory. I'm really excited to look into this house. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, on November 13th, 1974, the estate was home to one of the biggest mass murderers of the year. And using a .35 Marlin rifle, 23-year-old Ronald J. Defoe Jr. murdered his entire family when they were asleep, and this included his parents and his 4 siblings. 13 months later, the Lutz family purchased the home at an incredibly reduced price for the time of $80,000. Now, it was reduced, most probably due to the murders, but they only lasted 28 days in that house before leaving it. And in this time period, one of the most frightening paranormal tales of activity and probably in the world, and this is what started the legend of the Amityville horror. And from this, there has been multiple books, films, documentaries about this case, and that is what is so great about it. It's a complete mystery. We're gonna get on to what people think later on, but at this point it was a complete mystery what was happening to this house. And even at one point, Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were the leading demonologists at the time, came and investigated this house, and they said it was their worst case ever. Some of the experiences that the Lutz family experienced. Now, it's important to say that George Lutz had a history of dabbling into the occult. If you don't know what the occult is, it's like this big cult thing, and the paranormal and evil. He had a history of sort of messing around with that sort of thing. George was said to wake up at 3:15 a.m. every morning, which was around the same time that Ron Defoe carried out his murders in that exact same house. Every single night he used to wake up at the exact same time Defoe killed his family. And the Lutz family also claimed to smell strange odours, see green slime oozing out of the walls. And if you've seen episode 1 of this series, you would know that in the 30 East Drive case, they had green substance coming out of their toilets. Very similar. And then they'd also experience cold spots and areas in the house that would be so cold they wouldn't even be able to go in there. When a priest came to bless this house, they hired plenty of exorcists in their time of living there. A priest came to bless the house, and he allegedly heard a voice and a scream that said, "Get out." He told the Lutz family to never sleep in that house again. And specifically, there was a certain room that he heard this voice in, saying no one should even be going in there. That's how threatened this priest had felt. And also, there was other paranormal activity going on. For example, a nearby garage door opening and closing. An invisible spirit knocking a knife down in the kitchen. Knives again, similar to the 30 East Drive case. And it says here, a pig-like creature with red eyes staring down at George and his son Daniel from a window. A pig-like creature with red eyes. That frightens me so much and is really eerie and unnerving. George waking up to his wife Kathy levitating off their bed, which in a future episode we will go down into the Enfield poltergeist, and that is very similar to the Amityville poltergeist. All these cases are sort of connected in some way. It's very strange. And his sons Daniel and Christopher were also caught levitating in their beds sometimes. And the public at this time heard all of these stories of this house, of them levitating, of, green slime coming out the walls. And many people, like the East Drive case, many people speculated the validity word I cannot say, the validity of this case. Many things they tried to do to justify what they were saying and to prove that they were telling the truth. They took a lie detector test to prove their innocence, and they passed. That's the main thing. And whether you believe polygraph tests or lie detector tests, that's a different story. But they passed this lie detector test, so it must be true, right? And also, the couple had loads of legal and financial issues with money, with the law, which prompted skeptics to believe they had the alibi and the motive to create these fantastical stories to sell to the public and to sell to these newspapers, because they had no money. They were struggling financially and legally they were. And I'm saying too many ands here. The Lutz' former lawyer, William Weber, fell out with them over money issues. He came out in 1979, claiming the three of them came up with the horror story over many bottles of wine. So there's multiple arguments to this story. They passed the lie detector test, so why would they lie? But also, their lawyer said they came up with the stories they were saying. Their son, Daniel, who now lives in Queens in a nice house as a stonemason, claims the house ruined his life, and he continues to have nightmares about this house every night, and to this very day. So, is it true? Is it fake? What's happening? Now, the murderer in this case, who sort of started it off to begin with, Ron Defoe Jr., who's still alive, and he's serving six 25-year life sentences at a correction facility in New York. He claimed he heard voices urging him to kill his family. However, he has changed his story multiple of times. So, is it real? Is it fake? Is it a devil? What is it? What is going on in this house? Nobody knows. But I can tell you, to this day, the house still stands. And it was sold in February 2017 to an undisclosed owner for the price of $605,000, which was $200,000 less than the original asking price. It has previously owned by 4 other families since the murder case, one of which had the address changed to 108 Ocean Avenue. And just for your information, the house originally stood at 112 Ocean Avenue, and I can confirm that if you do have a Google search and go into Google Earth or Google Maps, and if you go into Street View, it is completely blurred out. No one wants people to look at this house. Maybe because it's a threat to the public. Maybe because they know that the stories were fake. And in the next part, I'll go through whether or not it was fake or it wasn't. Now, was the Amityville horror house real, or was it just a big hoax? Now, Christopher Quarantino, who was one of the 3 Lutz children who lived in the house, continues to say that most of the hauntings that happened there were hyped up by his former stepfather George for profit. A bit of context: George and Catherine split up in 1988. Now, Quarantino mentioned that George flirted with the paranormal, and he attempted to summon these supernatural beings, almost like he wanted to be possessed or be haunted. And the family was apparently also in a lot of debt, and it's been speculated that a book and a movie deal could have helped them get out of a lot of legal trouble and a lot of debt. So you can tell that most of the stories were hyped up just for money. However, Quarantino wasn't the only person to introduce this speculation about the house. William Weber, who was the defense lawyer on DeFeo's case, told the People's Magazine in 1979 that Jay Anson's book called The Amityville Horror was all a hoax. Now, this book included the Lutz experience in the house, and it used 45 hours of family recorded interviews. However, the defense lawyer for DeFeo's case, of course, the murderer in this story, said it was a hoax. Now, according to said lawyer, he and the Lutz family conjured up the story over many bottles of wine. This family would later on sue Weber over the invasion of privacy, and Weber countersued for fraud and breach of conduct. A judge mixed the Lutz case and Weber settled it all out at court. So a lot of bad blood, I guess, between Weber and the Lutz family. Whether this haunting is true or fabricated, I can definitely say the murderers, the drama, the supernatural around the Amityville horror house has truly made this one hell of a horror story to tell, and it's really spooky and eerie hearing about all the different things that have went on in that house. But that's where we're going to end it for today's video. If you've enjoyed, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.